All right, so here we are again. It is another month. It is almost August, basically. Well, I'm already seeing the back to school ads, so it's just a matter of time, right? Seems like it's going very fast, but we're about to enter our toughest part of the summer. Hot, hot, hot. Um, okay, so I'm Sue Weston, and for those of you who are new to the Alpha Barnes family, we attempt to do these managers webinars once a month. We do topics that help build skills for our managers, as well as address issues or concerns that are important across the company, across all properties. So I do take attendance. GoToMeeting records the computers that sign in, but as I just indicated, sometimes the names on those computers are different than the names of those who are actually in the session. So I always ask you to please put your name into the chat box. And then I get to also print a recap of the chat box. So I try and connect those dots and make sure we give credit to the folks that are here, because I think it is important. I think it says a lot about you as a professional, that you're interested in your career, you're interested in your property, you're interested in doing a good job, and so you're taking advantage of whatever we have available to you. I am going to be enhancing some of these training programs starting almost immediately. One of the things that is first on my list is new manager orientation. We have new employee orientation webinar every month, but this would be just for managers. Everybody that has come to our properties oftentimes has come from other companies, and they do things differently, and we do things differently. A lot of how we do things is changing because we're growing. So we are going to create and we'll probably record it and let it be a self-directed webinar. So you turn it on when you're ready to listen to it, and turn it off. We might do it in 2 short sessions. But anyway, that's one of the things that we're gonna add on to the programs. So actually, that's a great segue into. I'm checking the chat box here because I see a lot of chats coming in, which is all good. Devin, I can't help you at this point, babe. Finding that spot, you have to right click on it. Okay, once you download it, Doug sent out the instructions on downloading. All right, so that's actually a good segue into what's happened here and why we're having this session. An owner became very upset because of a couple incidents that had occurred at their properties, and the manager had taken kind of a laissez-faire or cavalier attitude toward the incident report. There wasn't necessarily a problem with the report itself, the report format, but and I got a copy of a couple of them, and they're halfway blank, and what is filled in is unreadable. So it fostered up a concern, and Mike became concerned with and actually promised. He said, this is something that we need to address with our managers, because stuff happens all the time. So we want to be sure that we're covering our ownership. When we manage properties for other owners, it's called an agency relationship. An agency relationship. You actually act as an agent for the owner. It is also a fiduciary responsibility, a fiduciary relationship. You have a responsibility to act in the best behalf of the owner. So that means we've got to be pretty serious about these things that happen. And I'm going to tell you, I realize, because I've been through those casualty losses, I realize that sometimes it is like pulling teeth to get anybody to tell you anything. And it may not be comfortable for some of you, but you almost have to become a barracuda about getting information. Now, what we're going to cover today is drawn from a webinar, actually, or a presentation that Lockton, L-O-C-K-T-O-N, Lockton is the agency that provides our property and liability insurance. They came into town last month and presented this to your regionals. So what I did was I cleaned up the slides that I needed to use for you and put it together. We also created a new incident report. What we did was I took the Lockton forms, I checked with Lynn Ben-Ami on what she needed for reporting. I looked at the TAA form, and we consolidated it into one form that we're going to use for everything. We'll put it on the shared drive, get it out to your admins, and actually you've got a PDF copy of it as handouts for the session. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about, first of all, property insurance and what property insurance is. Now, I sent out these slides ahead of time, so your time is valuable. My time is valuable. I am not going to sit here and read slides to you. You're grown-up ladies and gentlemen, so you can read slides after the fact. But I do want to be sure that you know the difference between property insurance and liability insurance. All of our lenders, most all lenders require that properties carry both kinds. So property insurance covers obviously the property and any kind of personal property that we've got on our property. Notice in the big print at the top of the slide, it says it's first party coverage. That means it is coverage between the party, which is us, the owner, and the insurance company. There's only two parties involved. It is first party. It's kind of like, almost like if you've got a LinkedIn profile, you are sorted, your LinkedIn contacts are sorted by first line connection, second line connection, third line connection. So this is first party insurance. Building insurance, renter's insurance is always the first, is primary coverage for damage to residents' property. So these are the property losses that you know, we get hit with. We put Lockton put an emphasis on fire simply because if you haven't had a fire, ladies and gentlemen, at your property, it's just a matter of time, right? Yeah, so chat in on that if you got an opinion on that. I think a number of you have had fire losses. So here's just a couple of entertaining pictures I thought that you would like. So there we have, I don't know why a cooler would be on fire. Obviously we had something hot in the cooler, and that's what it did. Kind of interesting, isn't it? It's kind of crazy that you know, leaving something just alone for a little bit. This looks like it could have been a fire from a candle, maybe. Looks like something on top of that cabinet. That's pretty significant. That's bad because that's obviously fenced off. That building is going to be down for a long time. These are pictures that Lockton, I think that's a Lockton agent, obviously visiting the site of a fire. This is not a fire. This is tornado storm damage. That is absolutely debilitating, right? Not a good thing. When a tornado comes, it's everywhere. Whereas a fire could be contained to a building. All right, so I want to make a big distinction here. So heads up, heads up, heads up. Please listen. A reportable claim to Lynn Ben-Ami has a deductible of $25,000. Now, I'm telling you that, but I'm also telling you that I am less concerned, and your supervisors are less concerned about you sitting there thinking, oh, I wonder if it's going to be a claim. I wonder if it's going to be enough to be a claim. I wonder if it's going to hit 20. Oh, it'll never hit 25,000. Whatever. That's kind of irrelevant. At the time that the incident is happening, it is always, capital letters, always an incident, right? no matter whether it rises to the level of a claim or not, it's always an incident. So in every case, we need to do an incident report. Now, you see here the reporting, fourth bullet down there, fifth bullet down. Go to incident reports, go to your supervisor and to Lynn. I will also tell you that if you have got ownership entities that require different protocol, okay, pay attention. I know that there is it Alamo, or there's a housing authority. Linda Coker sent out an email to her folks and said, okay, so this is good stuff to attend, but just remember we have separate protocol for our owners. So all of this we have to couch in the terms that your owners may need particularly, okay? So anything goes to your supervisor and to Lynn. Lynn actually files the claim with a group called VeriClaim. You don't need to know that. And it, the damage has to exceed the deductible. You all have got homes or cars that you've got insured, so you understand how a deductible works. A deductible is self-insurance. A deductible means that I am willing to take this amount out of my pocket and cover the first part of this loss up to a certain limit before insurance kicks in. It allows you to have a reasonable premium so you can afford your insurance. Manager, you just signed in late, but I have no idea what your name is. You're signed in as manager. Please give me a name. Thank you. All right. So anyway, protocols for a property events under 25,000. The last bullet. Please go down and look at the last bullet. Report to Lynn and your supervisor, obviously. Triage means that we're going to look at it and see whether it's going to rise to the level of a claim. So Lynn will probably determine that along with your supervisor. But anything should be reported to as an incident to your supervisor and to Lynn. Okay? All right. Obviously, we're going through this stuff pretty fast. So if there are any questions, please put them in the chat box, because if you have questions, I'm thinking somebody else does too. All right, so then once the property procedures here on how claims get handled is kind of a backdoor carriers. A carrier is like Lockton. They're going to get scheduled, and Alpha Barnes is going to help the adjuster. If you've got a public adjuster, talk with Lynn about that. Public adjusters are kind of good news, bad news. They're public adjusters. Sometimes if there's a lot of claims, insurance companies will partner with public adjusters to come out and look at the damage because they can't get out there fast enough. Thank you, Carlos. So gather up that claim documentation. You are an important conduit. If you have a claim and Lynn gets involved and Lockton gets involved and you've got public adjusters and insurance inspectors out on your property, you are an absolutely vital conduit. You're like the middleman, and the middleman can get screwed if they don't know what they're doing. So please understand, you are a conduit of information, photos, keeping your supervisor intimately informed. Here's the challenge. Your supervisor is going to need to keep their fingers in the pie, because that's where the owner is going to go. The owner's going to talk to the supervisor based on their relationship. Also may talk to you. Everything that you do with the insurance adjuster or with Lynn, just remember, you are a communication tool. It's got to flow through you and to your supervisor. Everybody needs to know what everybody is doing. One of the most important things in a property loss is what we call the communication tree. And you're in the middle of it. So VeriClaim may contact you if they don't have a reference to the loss. ask them for it, or reach out to Lynn Benamy and say, hey, I just got a call to Vericlaim. I didn't give them any information because I don't know that they're the right person. And let Lynn clarify that for you. Ask, ask, ask. You are protecting the owner's interest in a property loss. That is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. And that's an uncomfortable thing, folks, because we're not talking about how you handle an emergency with the media and the other residents. This is just how you're handling the claim and the incident report. There is such thing as the loss of rents coverage down at the bottom of the slide. Loss of rents coverage is coverage that we can file for reimbursement if the unit was occupied and if you are moving a resident to a vacant unit, and so you're losing the rent on that vacant unit to somebody who was about to move into it. So you can claim rent loss on both of those losses. Also, if you have to let residents go because it's going to be a long time before the repairs are completed and they're being let out of their leases, obviously we're going to get that unit reoccupied. You're going to file for it under rent loss, and that should cover the time that it's vacant. But if you lose any part of the contract or the reletting, you can put that on your rent loss as well. So but it means that you're going to have to run a rent roll on the date of the claim, and you're going to have to keep tracking it. And that's kind of a crazy time anyway, right? Oops, I'm sorry. So there's the bottom line. Everything should be sent to your supervisor. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the same slide. Sorry, I went back. Subrogation. Subrogation. That's kind of a weird word, right? Subrogation is a legal word. Okay, what happens if you don't, good question. What happens if you don't have any vacant apartments? If you don't have any vacant apartments, you're going to have to check with your supervisor and your owner. If it's a minor thing, we're talking about 48 hours or 72 hours before somebody can get back in their unit. Maybe they just have smoke damage and maybe a little bit of water damage, and we're going to go in there and clean that up. Then it is reasonable for you to ask the persons, are there friends or family that you can hang with for the next 2 days or so while we spruce up your unit. If it's going to be a long time, get with your supervisor and see what the comfort level is with the owner on putting them up in a hotel. If you've got to put them up in a hotel, you can also claim for that as a loss as well. You're losing the rent as well. That's the cost of maintaining the resident. You might consider letting them out of their lease. Yeah. So good question. Subrogation. Subrogation is our right. It's actually your right as an individual too, for your own insurance, to pursue somebody else, a third party, who probably, or perhaps the fire marshal has ruled, caused the insurance loss. So the challenge for us in the apartment business is, if the fire marshal says that the fire started because of an unattended cooking or a candle that was left unattended in an apartment, we can subrogate or charge or file a claim against the individual's renter's insurance for all of the damages. However, most of the time those policies aren't rich enough to be able to cover extensive damage. And if they don't have renter's insurance, all you can do is subrogate against the individual. So it's a legal right, but it's not a great avenue to get money. So if you had a car accident and somebody else caused it, you subrogate by filing a claim against their policy. It's where you are taking using the opportunity to file a claim against their policy. So it obviously, if we can subrogate and fault can be passed to someone else and compensation can be passed to someone else, that first bullet of the second paragraph there, it makes our loss runs and our loss history look better, because we are rated, our insurance premiums, just like you, just like me, our insurance premiums are rated based on our losses. So do talk to your supervisor or Lynn, and make sure that the adjuster is talking to us. And the adjuster will, of course, always be looking for the potential to subrogate. Potential evidence. This is really important, because now, just think about it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're thinking about filing a charge against or filing insurance against another individual, you darn sure better secure the evidence. Now it's almost like I don't mean it's a crime scene, but it's almost like a crime scene. You have evidence to show that they were in fact responsible, because undoubtedly they will push back and say, oh, no, it wasn't us. So really, really important to be on your toes if you're subrogating. General liability is the other kind of insurance. The thing that makes general liability different from property insurance or first party insurance is that it is between Alpha Barnes, or the owner, and the insurance company. So that's first and second person, and a third party, or the property of a third party, is injured or damaged. That's when general liability. It also has a property component in it, but it also fills in when we've got somebody who's been hurt or damaged in some way. So here's some examples. You know, these are awful things that happen on our property. Okay. And you can see, just looking at these, exposures, that these are not good things. These are not fun things. These could be our fault. They maybe aren't our fault. There's a lot of gray area. It is not like in a property insurance loss where we know it was a tornado, or we know it was hail, or we know it was the car that ran into the fence. Not the access gate that comes down and damages a vehicle. Yeah, this is why so many properties are installing cameras, so that we can see that what the resident says really happened, really happened. Here is a really, I really enjoy this. Be sure to keep accurate and complete work orders. Yeah, absolutely. We haven't talked about claims yet, but we will. And you're absolutely right, Charles. All right. So I am not a huge fan of putting slides up here with a lot of writing on them, but I think that this is really kind of important. I'm not going to read it to you, but it gives you 5 different scenarios of trees falling, gates hitting a vehicle, whether the gate malfunctioned or whether the person was trying to get through the gate, improperly. Yeah, so just some more examples of how confusing these general liability claims can be. Because your damaged person your third party is gonna claim one thing, and we're gonna claim something else, and so we'll argue a lot about who's gonna pay for what. This is why you taking accurate, full notes, getting pictures made. If you've got somebody who's challenging gate operation, get your butt out there with a vehicle and run the gate operation yourself with a witness to see whether it's operating correctly, and then record that. Get almost, I'm going to say the word, but I don't really mean it. Get almost belligerent. Just become like a barracuda. For ladies, it's the mama bear. Get the mama bear attitude about protecting the rights of your owner and your owner's pocketbook. Gentlemen, I guess you could be a Papa Bear. I have 2 sons, and they darn sure feel that way about their daughters. Papa Bear. So get very protective, because folks, you're going to be you're the one with feet on the ground. And so we absolutely are depending upon you. All right. Any kind of incidences where there's an injury is going to fall under general liability. Bodily injury, property damage. Anytime a resident, claims or want to allege, you're going to do the incident reporting. You're going to do the investigation. And I'm not talking about necessarily criminal activity. I'm just talking about, trip and falls or something like that. You are going to get your investigative hat on, complete an incident report, be cooperative, be nice, but get that mama Papa Bear on and get busy. Now, if you get a letter from an attorney, maybe it's something that someone has reported and you have filed an incident report on it, and a week later you get a letter from an attorney indicating that they represent the resident or the guest in an action, as a result of the injury sustained on or about whatever date, and it looks very, very legal, and they're either threatening or filing a lawsuit, then obviously that's got to get virtually overnighted or scanned immediately up to Lynn, who will then let Lockton know, and we will also get involved with potentially legal representation. If a car hits one of your golf carts, then you go after the person's car insurance. Just had a question. What if a car hits one of our golf carts? Well, that we make a claim. We actually file a claim. Get your incident report out. Get your camera going on your phone, and you're going to file a claim on their insurance. I mean, on their car. All right, preventing slips, trips, and falls. If we're going to be responsible for a lot of this, with just a couple of tips here about stairs and walkways. Boy, we could really talk about this with our employees too. But right now, we're talking about for our residents, cracks. If you're in the midst of some construction or renovation on the property, please be sure that any kind of wood scraps, nails, and things are secured. We're in the middle of the summer, so you've got all kinds of foot traffic and people out on the property, young and old. Storage on stairs. You just saw a couple pictures there where somebody left something on stairs and there was something obviously smoldering in it, and it started a fire. Piles of debris and leaves. It's been very, very hot. I see a lot of trees are losing their leaves, and so they can blow into piles. And then if somebody tosses a cigarette butt in there, where we got potential for a fire in there. Obviously, cords. Parking lots and sidewalks, we just got to keep watching those. When you're out walking around the property, or your maintenance staff is out walking around the property, hopefully you're doing a weekly general inspection, and maybe every month you're doing a more detailed inspection of certain parts of the property for preventive maintenance. But really kind of look at trip hazards. If you almost trip on something, or one of your staffers do, then that's something that we need to pay attention to. Because if we're writing up a work order on that in order to fix it, we're showing a solid track record of taking care of the property and fixing things, so that they don't come up and bite us, or we don't ignore them. I think that last little bullet there on the right-hand side, don't forget walking areas around the pool that have either washed out or have become loose. That pool is a wonderful thing, but it is a nightmare liability. And these are just some really good questions. Have we looked at that? What are we doing to be sure that we're paying attention to slip and fall hazards? if it can injure a resident, or if it can injure, I'd flip that last bullet around. If it can injure an employee, if we're looking about it at it for a workers' comp, then we need to be looking at it for our residents as well. So stuff. This is a great checklist for those of you that have got playground equipment. Better to, if you've got playground equipment where the fiberglass on it has become cracked or broken even, it needs to be shut down so that nobody uses it. I know that's going to anger people, but the point of the matter is that you don't want to leave it out there for someone to get hurt. Anchored, if just get out. That playground needs to be inspected weekly. There's just no two ways about it, period. Signage, I know that we've got playground, what do we call that? Ground cover, either pebbles or bark, or sometimes we're fortunate enough to be able to have some recycled rubber on the bottom. Just be sure that those mats or that surface is in good shape. I know that a lot of people, especially younger people, like to play with that stuff. Let's see. And then the last button is, if you are going to inspect the playground, make this a routine and note it. Actually, we could maybe even print up this slide and turn it into a little form, a little check box. So you just go check, 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 fencing, signage, surface material, equipment, swings, slide, whatever, seesaw. Fitness centers, love them, hate them, right? Just be sure that they are in good shape. If they aren't, please shut them down. Shut the piece of equipment down. I know it's not cheap to fix that equipment, but we don't want somebody saying, "Oh, here, use it at your own risk." We just shut it down, because people don't evaluate their own risk until something happens, and then they go, "Wow, it's your fault." I don't think any of us have got locker rooms or sauna or steam rooms, right? Security here, obviously, if the fitness center is accessed through a locking device, let's be sure that the code on the door is correct, whether it's a code that goes direct to the fitness center or a code that goes to kind of the activity center. Let's be sure that that's functional. And that there's an emergency number to call anywhere in the fitness centers. I'm thinking, it's dawning in my head is Meadows at Bentley. We've got that great activity center that's locked, and it's got a sign on it that says, where to call in case of emergency. Signage, facility design, that kind of goes along with pools. A red phone. Remember that we did a session on pools, which I think we recorded. If you were not on that one, I think that I could send you a link to it if you still need it, so send me an email. We did a little session on pools last time. Walking surfaces, again, I don't think we have locker rooms, but anything that's around water features, just be sure that we are we're also checking that they're residents and guests only that are using the facilities. Okay, I'm gonna kind of skip past this one because we have a full-on long program that we did last month on that. So any of these programs now I am recording. So if you want to listen to them, I have put them in my Dropbox because the files are too big, but I can send you a link to the Dropbox. So there's a nice looking pool. Furniture all out, nice and neat and clean. That is not so good. I love it. We want you to walk up these steps. I think I know where these steps are, to be honest with you, because I think I walked on these steps before. Maybe you've already walked on these steps before. But if we're going to say, hey, here's some nice steps, use them, then we got to be sure that they look good. There's another one. Now, we've highlighted it, but I'm wondering why we just don't fix the darn thing. Unless if it is a step, and it's supposed to be a step, to me, it just looks like the sidewalk has upheaved a little bit here. And so instead of fixing it, we highlighted it, which is, I guess, plan B, but it's not a solution. And of course, obviously now we've got the corner cracking, so it's getting even worse. This is the kind of stuff that, we're about to go into budgeting season. I don't know that you can wait till 2018 to fix this. This is, I don't, if it's going to cost you, what, $200 to fix it, what are you going to get sued for if somebody trips on it? Open and obvious safety hazards need to get fixed. Oh, yeah. I love this one. I love this one. Great curb stop, but you missed the rebar. Somebody put the rebar in, great, which helps to secure the stop. Yeah. Here we've got a patio railing that is tied into, I'll see if I can move my thing here, tied into siding that is clearly tearing away from where it's nailed into, and so much so that this first piece of wood is going too. What happens if I lean against this gate? I just had somebody report in that they're having trouble hearing me. Is everybody hearing me okay? Maybe your speakers aren't working. We can use a phone call. Okay, cool. So yeah, if I'm a 250-pound gentleman with a beer in my hand and I'm out here just kind of chatting on the patio, I lean against that railing, it could be like all over. And we would have, ladies and gentlemen, we would have no defense for that. That would be a completely innocent problem. Now, granted, it would have to pull away from the rest of the fence, but that could happen. So, yeah. And then here's another good one. I love this one. This is what gets me crazy right here in the front. What do you see here? What is this? This is obviously very weathered boards. The nails are sticking up there. Obviously, there's rust damage. This is a property that needs a little love. What do you see here? What's in the white? What's down here? Chat in for me. What have they done here? This is what you call lipstick on the pig. They came in to paint, and instead of sanding and removing all the peeling paint, they just painted over it. Are you kidding me? See, they even got some on the wood here. This white paint, they got some on the wood. Like, oh my gosh, what were they thinking? They either didn't have any time, they didn't care, they didn't have any money. But that's just crazy. That's just craziness, right? I hope you all are saying, yeah, that's craziness. We would never do that. Now, this is not a situation for us, except for those of us that are up in the Oklahoma properties. We don't necessarily get that. You can't see this real well, but you can see it here. It goes back to that whole discussion of what do we do when we have ice? Do we remove it or not? We need to be absolutely crystal clear for what our residents should expect. I can't tell what's going on in this picture. Don't know what that is. I do know what this is. Oh boy, this might be that same property that they painted white, because these are concrete steps that have been bolted into side, and they probably were ultimately welded. Oh, no fencing? Yeah, but there might not be fencing on a pond. I've managed lots of properties with no fencing on the pond. So I don't know that that's a bad thing. But look at what's happening. This step has gotten damaged. This one looks like a newer step. This one is an older step. Over time, steps set into metal, you know, get wet, they dry, they freeze, and they start to crumble like this. This is dreadful. This is absolutely dreadful. See, you can see these are new steps, but this is old. Look at this wood. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, so you can see the guy taking the picture here. This is, you're supposed to step up here. Hopefully you see it. Hopefully you have to step up here too. So this little piece of sidewalk has sunk for whatever reason. And then I love this one. This is really good looking wood, but they failed to tie it into the crossbar, instead left an exposed nail, and it looks like they went through this one here or missed this one. So it looks like we're trying to do a good thing, but again, just huge liabilities that if we don't pay attention can get us. Homemade access points. I love that. I love calling it that. Homemade access points. That's where our pedestrians find a way through our property. So these are just some pictures of what not to do. This landscaping is a criminal's best friend. It even looks like somebody has walked behind here. Obviously, it's time to do some landscaping work. I love this one. Here's a maintenance tech. Here's some very official looking people. Hopefully there were no tools in here, because there sure as heck aren't any now. All right, fire awareness. We're going to talk a little bit just quickly here about fires, because it is the #1 cause of property loss. These are some conditions that absolutely can cause fires. This is a little kind of, I don't know what, this looks almost like an outdoor grill, right? Overloaded circuits. Oh my gosh, look at that one. Electrical safety. Cords under rugs. If you've got cords under rugs that connect with an extension cord under a rug, not good. Grounding plugs missing, but I'm still using the other plugs, the other 2 plugs. Missing outlet covers. Fireplaces. Most of us don't have fireplaces, and I don't know too many developments that are building them because they really are an energy suck. But yeah, wood storage. You know, people do a really bad job of keeping their fireplaces cleared of ashes, or if they're not burning, you know, what they should be burning, there could be a whole lot of debris in there. And of course, over time, that flue gets full of soot. Clothes dryers, lint. So you see 2 different kinds here. This is the lint screen that your residents should be emptying all the time. Even if it's leased equipment, even if it's not ours, we don't own it. Maybe they're leasing it from a third party, or it's their equipment in our laundry rooms. Yeah, we got to look at that. Unsafe smoking. There's a great example of somebody just throwing flinging a butt into a pile of leaves, mulch. Candle safety. Most of us have got in our leases no candles, you know, no lit candles in apartments, and just enforce it. Maintenance technicians, we really depend upon you. If you happen to walk in and either no one's home or someone's home and there's a candle lit, your maintenance technician may not feel comfortable calling it out. So please require that they let you know about that so you can take care of that as a manager. We don't have drapes too many, but you know, they're just an accident waiting to happen. Balcony safety, obviously, no barbecues or hibachis. I love these pictures here. These are both totally bad. Smoking If you've gone to a non-smoking apartment that allows smoking out on the patio, guess where all the half-lit butts go? Either just outside of the patio or in some kind of a container on the patio. All right, so let's talk about incident reporting. Remember, an incident may or may not become a claim, but it is always, always an incident. Oh, I gotta hurry. It's 9:45 already. So on the big reporting here is you play a key role. Again, you are the investigator. You have got to ask all the questions. Documentation is critical. I love this slide. Be friendly, empathetic, but don't admit liability. You can always show concern. I'm so sorry that happened. You know, have you called 911? View the scene, take pictures, interview the claimant. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the big thing here is to stick to the facts. We're going to look at the incident report here as we close up. If they can write a statement, or you can ask them to write a statement, or on your phone, if you can record a statement. Would you mind if I record your statement? Because you are going to file a report on this. Don't say you're going to report it to the insurance. Just say, it's my responsibility to file an incident report on this. Act like an owner. Protect the scene. If you've got police around or other residents who want to get around, either tape it or block it off. That's why pictures are so important. If you need to be sure that somebody understands the scale of what you're taking a picture of, then be sure to have somebody or something in the picture that somebody can relate to in terms of size. Any kind of physical evidence. Remember, if we're going to allege or subrogate, we need that evidence. If a claimant asks for the evidence, you know the answer. Unfortunately, I don't have permission to give that to you. I will have to consult with my adjuster or legal department. Be polite. Just say, you know what, that's not in my line of authority. I'm happy to assist you. Let me reach out to my superiors. The media, we could do we'll do a whole session on emergency. Actually, what I want to do by the end of the year is put out an emergency binder for you with an emergency plan, and ask you to build one for your property if you don't have one. All right, so I sent you a couple of things here. These are from Lockton, so understand that they're global, they're generic. So some of the language on them may not be like language that we use. For example, on this form, what to do in the event of a property loss, at the very bottom of the form, it talks about business interruption or loss of rents claim. Well, it would all go on the original incident report. I think everything on this is good on that form. General liability incident. This is where someone gets injured. Clearly, you're just going to do basically the same thing. When they refer to forms, like, for example, right here in the second bullet, they say notice of general liability incident report form and notify your regional manager. Obviously, we're talking here about the incident report and notifying your supervisor. I just simply use these forms because I thought that they were a great reference point for us. But always check your supervisor is obviously the most important one. This was just a helpful hint if you've got a weather event that has happened and you've got significant building damage. This is where you've got to cordon off areas or close down entire buildings. Some good information there. And then the community incident report. So let me quickly go there. I just want to walk you through that form relatively quickly. So this is the new form. I sent it to you as a PDF. I'd love to at some point get this to be a fillable PDF, but then that would mean that you'd have to be by a computer. And I don't know how happy you are about that. I think it's all self-explanatory, but I just want to highlight a couple areas before we close out here. The type of incident, if you're confused about that, don't sweat that. I think we made it as easy as possible. Someone's hurt, the property's damaged, or it's a criminal incident. And then if it is a property damage, what caused it? Exact location. I want to know southeast corner of building 12. I want to know units 112, 113, and 114. Be specific here. I have seen this on incident reports completely ignored, or just put building 3. What the heck? Building 3. That, there's 4 sides and 3 stories to that building. The reason, obviously, we're asking for employees because they were involved and potentially witnesses. Incident description. If you gotta get extensive, be, who, what, when, where. If Asmara properties have got something special, do check with your regional on that. If you do have properties that require, they may simply just be using that because they have nothing else and they're not necessarily worried about it. It's kind of like when I went to Lynn, because she's, obviously takes all the claims. I said, what kind of form do you need to see? And she said, I don't care as long as it's got the information I need on it. So if you would check and let me know, who was that chatted in on that? Hang on a second. It just says manager. Again, if you say manager, I don't know who you are. And I can't give you credit for attending if it just says manager. Debbie. Okay, Debbie, there you go, at the Grove. See, please understand, I'm not trying to be hard to get along with. I just don't know first and last names and properties. We have 155 properties. Thank you. So, yeah, please check and then let me know, okay, Debbie? Obviously, the next one, police, fire, EMS, officer's name and badge number. Not because you're trying to get him in trouble, but because that is required reporting. If you can, lots of times police don't have time to sit down with you and talk, and spend time with you. Get their badge number and ask permission to call them back later. They'll have some kind of a report number. They may not have it that date, but get your mama papa bear on and get this on your daily to-do list. So every day you're calling back for that until you get it. Photos were taken. Injured party. I've got one that I'm actually looking at. It says injured party unknown. Really, it says unknown and nothing else is filled in. Seriously, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody got injured on your property and you were being potentially going to be responsible for the injury, wouldn't you ask more questions? I mean, even if it was a guest, male or female, approximate age, who were they visiting? Just take the time. And I realize not only when you file this incident report, remember incident reports can be amended. So if you're filing the incident report to get the information out, then put in process or something so we know that you are reaching out. And then when you get an update, take the same incident report, fill in the new information, and up at the top put update number 1. And then if you have to update it again or amended number 2, please help us track this additional information, because truly, those of you that have had losses, you're not going to get all the information at one time. Property damage, other property damage. If there's renter's insurance, let's talk about that. Witness statements, just hang on. This is just the names of the witnesses and how I get a hold of them. And then I think this is critical. What are we doing to remedy the situation? How do we respond or remedy the situation? In some cases, there won't be a remedy that we have to take, but we certainly need to record our response. Then this is what gets filed. But page 3, ladies and gentlemen, is your incident statement by witness. Witness or party. Remember, a party can be just someone who was with them. Maybe they went into the apartment and unlocked the door and went into the apartment while the second person in the party was jumped in the parking lot. So they're a party. They weren't a witness, but they're a party. So please, I just can't emphasize enough, please take the time here. Notice that we're asking some of the same questions of the witness that we ourselves are writing on in the first page of the report. And that's on purpose. Okay. All right. I know we went through the tail end of that pretty quick, so we can listen to it. If you want to, always just please reach out to me. I'm happy to send those to you. Just two more things before I let you go. August 8th, the afternoon of August 8th, we are trying to put together a quick little session in the Houston area. I'm going to be teaching at the Houston Apartment Association that morning. And so that afternoon from like 1:30 to 3:30 or something like that, we're going to put together a quick hands-on little program about how our leasing assistants and office personnel need to respond to prospects and residents with accommodation and modification questions. We're actually working up some scripts so that you can actually put in your hands, in your people's hands, what they should say if somebody says, I've got an ESA, here's my certificate. So we're going to tell them what to say so that there's no question. We're just going to do it in an open workshop. We're not going to do it with a PowerPoint. We're going to hand out and we're going to talk, because that's what we need to be sure that everybody's understanding that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're about to get an email from Myra or Kelly Stuckey. There is a brand new I-9 form. I know we just had a new one, but there is a brand new one and you must begin to use it immediately. If you don't start using it by September 18th, every time we catch you not using it, we can get fined $1,000. So new I-9 coming. Heads up. With the government, it's always something, right? And that's recorded on the recording. All right. Any other questions before I let you go? I'm sorry we went a little bit long today. But this is good. This is important stuff. I want you to take this seriously. We are counting on you. Your owner is counting on you. Don't let him push you around. You own the property. You have legal right to the property. So ask those questions. All right. All right. I'm going to let you go. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Stay cool. And we'll talk again next month. See you soon.